Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to this week's reading wrap-up. I realized I started the wrap-up before I got to the right page of my notebook, so excuse me, but first off, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, or I mean the merch in the room, and that is my merch store is now live on Teespring. So look at this, oh my god. This is just the basic t-shirt. There is so many designs and patterns. I'll show you the other two. There is a post on my Instagram that when you're seeing this, you should still have a day to enter, and I'm giving away some of the merch. But I've been working on this for the past couple of weeks, and it's finally happening. There is some merch with the Book Refuge on it. There are a few designs that have the Rake Appreciation Society because my sweet friend Crystal was like, you should definitely put Rake Appreciation Society merch in your store. And I was like, thanks, babe, because the Rake Appreciation Society is really Crystal's book club, but she was like, you can make some merch. So definitely check that out. And then I have some other designs that are just romance in general. So there's this really cute one. Look at this. Oh, I love it. I literally wore this to bed last night and it was so cozy. Yes, we are still in the heat wave, but I keep my air conditioner on constantly, so it's like 65 degrees in here, so then I can wear a sweater. But anyway, there also is a sale going on this weekend, so I'll have a link to the Teespring down below, and the code is free ship, because I want to get the word out there. There are also some dark romance designs that should be in there by the time you see this. I'm going to order some more samples soon, but I needed to curb myself and not buy every single design right away just because, you know, I want to actually make a little bit of money off of this store instead of just spend everything, but it's difficult. So anyway, now I get to rock my merch. You can rock some if you want, but like I said, there's lots of fun romance designs in there, so go ahead and check that out. And I'll stop promoting myself and we will dive in to the weekly wrap-up. I believe I have 15 books on here to talk about. A lot of them are for the Historical Romance Readathon, which is going on right now. But I did read some others, including a favorite book of the year. So let's go ahead and dive in. So the first book that I read was actually a reread, and that is Cruel Enforcer. Better scoot over so I can put a picture. It is Cruel Enforcer by Maggie Cole. I listened to the audiobook. Maggie is doing day and date releases for her audiobook and her books, so you can go and listen to this. I love this series so much. Yeah, so this one is Sergei and Cora. This is an older woman romance. She is a lawyer. It's also an interracial romance. Cora's a badass bitch, and she is one of Aspen's friends. And so at the beginning of this series in Ruthless Stranger, there's that event that happens in Vegas that kind of starts everything off. And so Aspen's friends end up meeting the Ivanovs, and they all are kind of paired up with them. But this was super fun. I loved listening to it, and the new release, which is Vicious Protector, just came out this week too, so I want to listen to that audiobook soon. But yeah, it's delightful. Then I read 44 Chapters About Four Men by BB Easton. This is a memoir. I actually just filmed a rant review about the show Sex Life, which is what this memoir was made into. That will be going up this week, so look forward to that. I have some thoughts. However, this book, which is what we're talking about right now, I really enjoyed. I gave this 4 stars. This is a memoir about BB Easton and her husband Ken, who are in a bit of a sexual dry spell. Things haven't been going super great, and so BB starts writing down fantasies in her journal about previous boyfriends, as well as what she wishes some of her sexual experiences could be. And her husband Ken finds her journal and starts reading it and starts implementing some of the things he's reading. And BB discovers this, so she starts planting fantasies into this journal for her husband to try. If that doesn't quite sound like the show you watch, that's because it fucking isn't. And the book was better. And it's based on her real life. So I don't know what Sex Life was doing. So anyway, gave that 4 stars. I enjoyed it. Then I read my first ever Talia Hibbert. And so I read A Girl Like Her. I gave this book 5 stars. For some reason, people this is the lowest rated one in the series, and I don't get it. But this is about our heroine, who is the town pariah. She's seen as kind of a homewrecker and a harlot in a lot of ways. And then we have our hero who moves to town. He is ex-military, and he is a blacksmith, and he ends up being her next door neighbor in their apartment complex. Their apartments share a wall. And they end up, through some circumstance, exchanging food for comic books. She actually writes a sexy web comic. She's super nerdy. She's always wearing superhero t-shirts and clothes. And he realizes that he brings her like a casserole as a like hello neighbor thing. And he realizes that she doesn't have a stove. She actually almost burned down her house one time, so she just got rid of her stove. And she only has like a hot plate and like a kettle, and she only eats noodles. So he's like, oh my God, you're going to starve. So he starts making her food, and she lets him borrow comic books in exchange. She is on the autism scale, and the more time they spend together, it's cute. I loved it. This does have a trigger warning for an abusive ex, so know that. Mostly emotionally, but still. Then I read Damaged Goods, which is book 1.5 in the series. This was only about 144 pages, and I don't really want to fully say who it's about, because I think that's kind of a spoiler for stuff that happens in the first one, but you can read this one anytime after you've read the first one. But this is about this woman who, she's pregnant, and she doesn't want the father in the baby's life, so she moves away. And she ends up running into a childhood crush who inserts himself into her life and is like, I'm going to help you raise your baby. And it grows from there. And it's so cute. I gave this one. Sorry, I've been talking already a lot this morning. Then I read This Blood Is Love by Karina Halle. This is a new release this week. I was actually sent a copy of it, but it's on my TBR shelf. But yeah, this is book 2 in the Dark Eyes duet, and it finishes off the duet. However, there is going to be more in the series, but they're going to be about different characters. So this picks up where the last one left off, just I think a couple weeks later, and it's about Lenore and Solon. He is a vampire, and she is a half vampire, half witch, and they have some interesting stuff going on with their fathers. There is fatherly drama. That's what I would say. This book was sexier, deadlier, bloodier, more dramatic, action-packed. There is a little bit of monster banging that happens. Oh my God. There's also lots, like I said, lots of blood and fluids being exchanged. So just know that there were some very vivid descriptions of deaths in this book, which I don't always mind, but I also was like a little unprepared. So just take my advice and be prepared for them. But it was wonderful. I gave it 4.5 stars, and I can't wait for more in this series. Then I reread, which happens to be here, The Lady of Rooksgrave Manor. Excuse me, my nose itches. Because I was on the Patreon live review with Smart Woman Read Romance. So that's not somewhere you can watch it unless you are a member of Smart Woman Read Romance Patreon. But I absolutely love this, still liked it, still gave it 5 stars. This is about a prostitute at a monster brothel. That's all I'm going to say. I've talked about this book many. Then I read Never Kiss a Duke. This was my first read for the Historical Romance Readathon. I like Megan Frampton. She writes pretty fluffy, easy stories. This one is about Sebastian, the Duke of Hasford, who recently discovered that he's not a duke anymore. He's a bastard. So he's just plain old Mr. De Silva, and he ends up going to a gaming den that's owned by Miss Ivy, and he ends up collaborating with her to make her gambling den better, and they end up having, you know, a relationship, and it was cute. I gave this 4 stars. Then I read Untouchable by Talia Hibbert. This is book 2 in the Ravenwood series. This is about the sister from book 1, and she becomes a nanny for an old high school. He wasn't really like a bully, but she's had a crush on him since high school, and now he is a widower with 2 kids, and she becomes his nanny. And she's a live-in nanny. So lots of sexual tension. I gave this one 4 stars just because it was a bit too much of a slow burn for me, and then it was just over. You know, it was one of those where it's like slow burn, we're together, and then it's done. But I still enjoyed it. Then we have a couple more of the historicals. So I read Infamous by Minerva Spencer. This is book 3 in her Rebels of the Ton series. So book 2 actually just came out. This one doesn't come out until October, so I'm not going to say too much about it. But I really enjoyed this book. In this series, if you'll recall, these ones have really beautiful covers, okay? I really love them. The first one I gave 5 stars. The second one I gave 3 stars. I wasn't a huge fan of how that one played out. This one I gave 4.5 stars. This one is about a former mean girl. She is a mean girl in the ton when she is, I mean, only like 19. And then through some pretty tragic circumstances, she loses everything. And now we see her 10 years later, and she is a ladies' companion to this one woman. And the house that they're going to for a house party happens to be the home of some people that when she was a mean girl, she ruined their lives. And she is very humbled and brought low after the circumstances she's been through. So something I want to say about Minerva Spencer. Now, she also has a historical erotic pen name named S.M. La Violette, who I've read those ones. And something I've noticed now, having read about 6 or 7 books from this author, she writes some pretty unlikable characters. Like, I will tell you, Cecilia, she isn't really likable. But as the layers are peeled away and we start to understand her motivation, it's not that that automatically makes her more likable, right? Because she still could have been nice, or even for the things that happen. But I had much more compassion for this woman than I thought that I would. And especially when you remember that when she made some of those mistakes, when she was a mean girl, she was so young and she was under a lot of pressure and she was jealous. And the way that she reacted to that, she could have ruined people's lives. But actually, some of the things that she did, they actually made for some happily ever afters for other people, which was very interesting. So this also has a hero who is a scientist. He's pretty nerdy, and he also likes to make a focus on female pleasure and the different ways to achieve that. So that was very interesting. But I don't always want to read an unlikable character, but the way that this heroine was written, you knew there was great pain behind it. And hurt people. And I really enjoyed it. Then I read The Earl I Ruined by Scarlett Peckham. This is going to be the Rake Appreciation Society book for this month, July. We will have the live show on next Thursday, which will be July 8th. Is that going to be this Thursday? No, it's next Thursday. I'm forgetting what the days are. Is it? No, it's going to be this week, right? I think it's July 8th, which will mean it's this upcoming Thursday. I'm forgetting how it's going. But anyway, the live show for this will be on Crystal's channel, Crystal's Bookish Life. So I won't say too much about this. This also has a pretty unlikable heroine. Her name is Lady Constance, and she has this small circular, which is like a, it's like a pamphlet that she shares with a select group of women to warn women about badly behaving gentry, badly behaving lords and things like that, to save women from getting roped into a marriage that would be unhappy for them. However, one of these notes that she writes, she wrote a little bit spitefully because she wanted to keep Julian Hayward from marrying someone else because she's liked him for a long time. But they have a very antagonistic relationship because they both like each other, but they don't want the other person to know, so it ends up being this whole thing. And this, that she writes about him, that he has some sexual proclivities that may be unusual, it gets out. Instead of just being for women to warn women, it gets out and it gets spread in the papers just as Julian is about to have a bill come before Parliament. And he is ruined. And so Constance proposes a fake engagement to help him regain favor, and then she will bow out and run away once his bill passes. The thing is, they both love each other. So this fake engagement is going to be tough for them. As always, for Scarlett Peckham, there is a lot of angst. There's also a little bit of kink, something that I miss. I wish there was more sexy times in this book. I will not lie. There's a lot of talk about all the things that Julian has done and wants to do, and there's very little action. And that's not something I like. Like, I'm just being real, like, don't tease me with that shit. And then there's one scene, really. So, but we'll talk more about this. I rated this 4 stars. I'll have more to say about this, of course, in the live show, which you can watch with us. All right, y'all. Then things got real, okay? Things got real. I read Carnal Urges by J.T. Geissinger, and my physical copy isn't here yet. I wish I had it in my hands to hold it up. But this is the next book in the Queens and Monster series, and this is about Sloane, who we met in the first one, and we knew that she was cavorting with some mafia men that she maybe shouldn't have been. And she gets kidnapped by Declan, and she's supposed to be brought to his boss. Well, in the process of his kidnapping her to bring him to his boss gets whacked. So now he goes from being the second in command in the Irish Mafia. Is he in the Irish Mafia? Yes. To the capo, the mafioso, the head. So now he doesn't need to keep her captive because the same reasons that his boss wanted her are not the same reasons why he needs her. But it may be too late because the more time he spends with Sloane, who is just the most unflappable, fantastic, funny, hilarious, yoga-doing, healthy-eating, crazy woman you've ever read. This is an age gap. This is a little bit kinky. This is a relationship where the tension and the back and forth is so good. I gave the first book in this series 6 stars. And I liked this one so much more than that one. That I'm like, okay, 6 stars as high as I go. I can't just keep adding. But I would give this one more if I could. It is easily in my top 5 of the year. I already can't wait to reread it. I'm probably going to wait to reread it till she releases the audiobook. But there are so many quotes from this that I saved. They have, the first half of this book is really them, like, her being kind of a captive of his, but her just, like, she's not running roughshod, like, he's still in control, because he's got big daddy energy, okay? He's got a big daddy energy. God, just look at him. Just look at him. But his men, she has them all under her thumb. She, again, is so unflappable, and it isn't until things start to get intense between them, where the comedy gets left besides the wayside, and things get real, and then this book just shoots through the stratosphere. It is so good. I love it so much, so much. And I cannot wait for the 3rd book, Savage Hearts, to come out, because I don't know what J.T. Geissinger is going to do next. I do not know, but I cannot wait to find out. I'm just so excited. I can't wait. I'm so pumped. What else was I going to say? I can't remember what else I was going to say about it, but I freaking loved it. It was so sexy. It was so gut-wrenching. I cried a couple of times. It was fantastic. It was wonderful. Yeah. Okay, then I read Marked by the Marquess. Obviously, I read this for the Historical Readathon. This is book 4 in a series, which I didn't realize, but this was one of them that I had it on my Kindle for free, and I tried to pick a bunch of books that I had for free, and then I bought the physical copies because I also wanted to. But this one is about Sinclair, the Marquess of Dunkeld, and he accidentally compromises this woman named Winifred. And now she is a scientist. Her and her father are scientists together. And she is in the cellar doing an experiment, and he comes down there to search for something, and they end up getting caught, and so they have to get married. And so that happens in, like, the first chapter of this book. And so then he takes her back to Scotland with him. And she is a very reserved, buttoned-down woman because she has a mother who had went to a sane asylum. And she was very emotional and out there and crazy. And so she feels like she needs to hide all her feelings so that she doesn't get sent to a mental asylum, which is just heartbreaking, right? It's just gut-wrenching that she would feel that way. But you also understand why she feels that way, because, you know, what else is she supposed to think? And our hero is so gone for her so quickly. He thinks she's fascinating and smart, and her ideas that she has for helping his family be able to produce more and to be a more profitable estate are just, he's so gone for her, but she just will not crack. And so he's going to try all the sexual prowess he has, all the things he has in his quiver to get her to love him. This book is kinky. I love that it's called Lords of Discipline. I have all the rest of the books on my TBR. I want to read them. And yeah, this also, he's a spy. Part of the plot is that there is some rebellion happening in Scotland, and he's trying to shut that down because he's like, guys, we don't need another rebellion right now. Like, let's just not. So this one also worked for my spy prompt, which was cool. I gave this 4.5 stars. Then I read Alessio by Bethany-Kris. This was kind of a holdover from the Mafia romance readathon because I read the first book in this series, and this one is kind of a companion to it. This is an MMF. I gave this 4 stars. This one did have some of the MMF parts to it, whereas the first one, we knew it was building up to this one. And so Corrado had gotten us into a sticky situation in the first book, and Alessio is going to fix it in this one. So it was good. Then I read Unraveled by Courtney Milan. I gave this book 4 stars. This was my least favorite in the Turner series. I just didn't really vibe with Smite. He is a magistrate, and he tries to do his best to make sure that the poor don't get manipulated or misused. So he really is on the side of the people, and it's really beautiful to see that. But this book is basically about a mistress, and it was okay for me because, if y'all know, that's a trope that I really dislike, because that's literally how their like relationship starts. Is he becomes aware of her through some of her misdeeds, and he thinks she's just so beautiful and interesting, and so he asks her to be his mistress for a short amount of time. So to me, the mistress trope that bugs me is when we have a couple who's falling in love and then the hero can't marry her for a reason, so he asks her to be his mistress instead while he finds a woman to be his duchess or whatever. In this case, Smite is just like, I don't want to get married, but you're beautiful, and let me pay you, and let's be together for a certain amount of time, because she needs the money. And so it wasn't the same as like her being degraded to being a mistress. Like, that's how it starts, and it's actually a step up from what she's doing and is going to free her from a lot of things. But yeah, I don't like how Smite treats his brother Ash, who is the hero from the first one. And there's a lot of trauma. This one had an abusive parent and also a parent with mental issues, so be warned of that. But I'm happy to have finished this series, and I can't wait to read more Courtney Milan. And then the last book that I finished was The Ruin of Evangeline Jones by Julia Bennet. This book just has a fantastic cover. I gave this book 4 stars. This is about Alex Stanton, who he makes it his job to uncover charlatans and frauds. And so Evangeline Jones, is a spiritualist and medium, and she's the next one that he has his eye on. However, the man that Evie works for, he wants to set a trap for Alex to get him to fall in love with Evie and then to tear him down. And Evie doesn't want anything to do with that. These two have wonderful sexual tension. The things about it that kept it a 4-star for me is that this book was only 240 pages. There was more that should have happened. This one does have the mistress trope in the way that I don't like it. And the plot was very confusing to me. Like, the motivations for some people, I wasn't sure what was going on. So that kind of kept it back. But it was still, the clinch covers a multitude of sins. As I said to my friend Crystal, I was like, this cover. And I got this one, like, this was one that I had got the ebook for free at the time too, and then someone sent me this one as a gift because it's on my wish list. And I mean, it's just so beautiful. Like, I'm happy to have it. So, all right, those are all the books that I read this week. Man, it went by so quick. The month of June, we're into July, and it's absolutely crazy. So anyway, tell me what your favorite book was that you read this week. Make sure to check out the Book Refuge merch shop if you're interested. Once I hit 10,000 subscribers, I can actually link my shop like down below, which I'm kind of excited about. Like, that'll be a cool new milestone to hit and everything. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you to my channel members who support me always. If you'd like to look into channel memberships and be able to spend more time with me, as well as to get early access to content and polls and all the stuff that we do, make sure you check that out down below. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to watch some more videos, you can do that right now. Bye.